Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Derrick, and alongside me, as always, is the Slimer to my Ghostbusters, Josh Finney.
Fucking hate you.
The most epic crossover of all time.
I woke up so disgusted when I saw that.
I know.
I was just like, there's no way this is real. And I actually had to make sure it wasn't a parody, like 2 or 3 different times. It's real though, folks. If you don't know what we're talking about, there is yet another crossover in Destiny, and this is the most egregious of them all. It's a Ghostbusters crossover. It is hands down the worst one. I did not think we could get worse than the Assassin's Creed crossover, and here we are.
Yeah.
It is a Ghostbusters crossover. We're just jumping right on into it. It's a Ghostbusters crossover where the Ecto one is a ship, Slimer, the ghost, is a ghost, and there is a Sparrow that looks like it's pretty inspired from Frozen Empire, the new movie, but also could be a nod to the original Ghostbusters movie. So, I hate this. I know there are a lot of people, and including in our Discord, who are like, I'm gonna get this. More power to you. I absolutely hate this. At least the other crossovers attempted to look like they belonged in Destiny.
Yeah, this has no shame.
Yeah, this is shameless. This is the kind of decisions that happen. These are the decisions that are made for you by your parent company when you come in 45% under projections. I'm torn between thinking, oh yeah, this is something that happened because Bungie wanted it to, and man, they were definitely told to do this. Man, they were definitely told to do this one. The other ones I can at least find some sort of positive. I literally can't here. This is shameless, and I don't like the Pandora's box that this now opens. I already didn't like it with the gaming crossovers, but I begrudgingly accepted they were here to stay. And yeah, this is not going to be the last movie crossover you see.
No, it's going to get worse.
Disgusting. Oh, it's going to get way worse. This is disgusting to think about. Yeah. The analogy I made to somebody was, if you're happy about this, like, hey, more power to you. If you think this is cool, fine, vote with your wallet, all that good shit. The analogy I made to somebody else is, I'd be totally cool with seeing this stuff in Fortnite because it makes sense in Fortnite. I'm not cool with seeing it in Destiny because it doesn't make sense in Destiny.
Yeah. This is who was I talking to? I was talking to somebody yesterday about this, and we had a back and forth, and I said, Destiny has finally hit their, we need to change up something and do something to bring new players in because we see all the old players are going to leave after the final shape type thing.
Yeah. It's becoming increasingly certain that a lot of folks are going to be leaving post final shape, and we've got some news on what's going to lead up to the final shape today. But I really wanted to start. I don't want to dwell too long on it because we talked a lot about Eververse last week and about my complaints. But this really highlights stuff. I wouldn't be okay with it, but I would be more willing to ignore egregious shit like this if we could earn more things in game. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying I want to earn crossover shit in game. Yeah. I'm saying that, there is no reason that we shouldn't be able to earn more ships, ghosts, sparrows, and stuff, and armor sets in game. This just keeps coming back to the core argument we've been making for years on this show. Mm-hmm. There is no excuse for it. There is so much in the store now that they can charge for. And you want to charge for the crossover stuff, fine. But make stuff like the Gallerheart armor, there's no reason why that should not be earnable in game. We're at a point now where you have so many armor sets for the seasonal events that happen, like Dawning and Guardian games and stuff, that there's no reason that the older sets that are older than 3 years, there's no reason why those cannot be earnable in game. Those should be in the grandma packages that you get. I'm a pretty firm believer that once it's been in the Eververse for 2-3 years, you should be able to just buy it with Bright Dust whenever you feel like it. And that's just me. More stuff needs to be earnable in game with Bright Dust, especially if you're going to make a big show out of how much Bright Dust you're giving us between now and the final shape. There needs to be more stuff earnable in game. I don't like the precedent that I didn't like the precedent that the Fortnite crossover set a year and a half ago, but I was like kind of okay with it. Like I understood, okay, yeah, it's coming to the Epic launcher. They did a big deal they made a big deal of it in Fortnite and in Fall Guys and here in Destiny. Like, okay, and that armor, like, yeah, it's Fortnite armor, but they at least attempted to make it look like it belonged in the Destiny universe. The Assassin's Creed stuff was shameless. We've laughed about that a lot here. There's no reason you should be running around as Saint 14 in Valhalla, but here we are.
Yeah, to be fair though, like Assassin's Creed, like I don't think anybody cares as much in Assassin's Creed as they do in Destiny though. Like I mean, when you had
no, for sure.
Ivor's armor set in in Destiny with like the giant shield on the back, I was like, okay.
Yeah, that armor's pretty bad outside of the assassin robes, which are only inexplicably available on the Warlock. And then it was like, okay, are we kind of done with these for a while? Nope, the PlayStation collection comes out. That also felt like something, hey, your parent company is telling you to do this. Again, they at least tried to make it look like it belonged in universe. I specifically think the Aloy set for Hunters looks really cool. I was fine with like The Last of Us Ghost and things like that, because it's like, oh, it's just a nod to something, right? It's not you're overtly taking a character and making them a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
We've all heard my complaints about the Witcher set. Like, yeah, I think the Witcher armor is cool, but again, like medieval chainmail doesn't really fit in a sci-fi fantasy epic set like 2,000 years in the future.
Right.
And in Mass Effect, it's funny. Just a month ago, we were like, damn, they finally nailed one of these. Mass Effect is perfect. Mass Effect fits in this universe. They made the armor look like it fits in the universe. They gave us some shit for free, and all that goodwill is flushed down the toilet 3 weeks later.
Yeah. Yeah, the Mass Effect set was pretty perfect in terms of crossovers. I agree.
Yep, it was perfect. It was the one we thought we would never get. But here we are.
Here we are, Josh.
Here we
are. Here we are.
So, yeah, again, if you like this, more power to you. If you don't, and you're like me, vote with your wallet. I think a lot of us are just like, why? Like, we're not able, like, people aren't even mad. They're just like, why is this a thing?
Yeah.
This makes no sense. Like, if you're to the point where you need to promote your movie inside of Destiny 2, your movie might have some marketing problems also. Like, just saying. I just saw a first commercial for Ghostbusters when I went to go see Dune this week. Apparently, it comes out next week. Apparently, Ghostbusters is out in like 6 days.
Yeah, I didn't even know they were making a new movie, to be honest with you.
I did. I just hadn't like seen anything from it.
Yeah.
So,
isn't it like
whatever?
Isn't it like I don't know. I see a bunch of snow in these images.
Yeah, it's called Frozen Empire. Because the ghost that is being summoned to Earth like can freeze shit. I don't know.
That's lame.
Whatever. Like, I mean, listen. I like Ghostbusters. I loved the recent one, so like I'll watch this. It comes back to the point of Ghostbusters as a franchise is not the problem here. It is, why is this in my Destiny game? It's
true. It's fair.
So
fair enough.
I'm sorry to start things off on a negative note, but I had to get that out of my system. We had another, despite me begging and pleading with y'all, both on this show and in Discord, to stop submitting crossover questions. We still got one this week. Jiggly Panda writes in and says, I know you said no more crossover questions, but with the Ghostbusters crossover, do you think we should have more movies and TV show crossovers? I think they feel better than doing crossovers with other games. No.
I actually think that's worse.
Yeah, I actually think that's more egregious. Games I can at least rationalize. Like, I cannot rationalize basically being a billboard for a movie.
Yeah, I mean, what does Sony? I guess what does Sony even own that you could put in Spider-Man? I guess they have the rights to, right? I guess
they'd have to jump through Marvel hoops for that one. That's merchandising at that point.
Yeah, that's fair.
It ain't happening. No, like, I mean, Ghostbusters is probably the most prominent one. Men in Black.
God, yes, I want a black tie suit to run around and.
Among the global IP that Sony Pictures owns are Jumanji, Bad Boys, Ghostbusters, Hotel Transylvania, Resident Evil, Peter Rabbit, and James Bond. And did I say Jumanji? Jumanji's
Yes.
in there too. Okay.
Yeah.
All of those are egregious. Resident Evil is the one thing that I would ignore, but because if we ever got that, it would be the video game Resident Evil and not Mika Jovovich running around.
It could be. You don't know.
Oh my god!
Corey, it could be Michelle Rodriguez too.
There are so few things that would cause me to quit this game as quick as that. As like, oh boy, we got a Resident Evil crossover, and it's that. Also, Resident Evil again, like, just I'm done. I'm done. I think crossovers are bad. They're bad. You should feel bad about these. I'm over it. I absolutely do not want any of these to happen. I'm done. No more.
You don't want the Rock running around as in Jumanji or whatever else.
I do not need Kevin Hart and Jack Black in my Destiny. I'm good.
No, they're in your Borderlands though.
They are, in fact. God, how bad does that look? Also, like, if you thought this was going to be good, it is written and directed by Eli Roth, who wrote such classics as Hostel. So, if you wanted any idea of how bad this is going to be.
Look, man, I don't even care for Borderlands as a franchise. So I don't really.
I mean, I just want to know, like, how many armed hitman squads did they send to Jamie Lee Curtis's house to get her to do this?
I feel like she's at the point in her
her and Cate Blanchett. I feel like her and Cate Blanchett are like being forced to do this. Like, oh, you had a deal with this particular studio and you owed them a movie. Because I cannot imagine that either one of them willingly looked at this and said, yes, I want to work with acclaimed director and writer Eli Roth.
Yeah. Josh,
I cannot imagine they wanted to spend days on set with Randy Pitchford and his fucking magic tricks.
That's probably why it took so long to come out.
Probably.
Yeah, man. Cate Blanchett's a weird one. She's like, I don't know. I feel like she's better than this, but
she literally just won Best Actress at the Oscars like a year and a half ago.
I know. By the way, Josh, you missed the crossover that makes the most sense. That it's probably going to happen with the surprise hit that is Helldivers 2. Sony also owns Starship Troopers.
So, like, okay, listen. I'm totally listen. If we get a Starship Troopers crossover into Helldivers, I'm totally cool with that. If we get that into Destiny, I'll be reluctantly okay with it because I love Starship Troopers. Helldivers, like, it'd be fine to see. I'd be fine with seeing a crossover, like, but there's no iconic armor or anything from Helldivers. It would be more if you're putting Destiny shit into Helldivers.
No, I wasn't talking about Helldivers being crossover. Okay. I was talking about Starship Troopers.
Yeah, no, I'm totally cool with Starship Troopers. I feel like that is like the most obscure crossover you could possibly do.
No, Helldivers would be the one getting the crossover armor.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I would welcome that.
Which I think it would almost make sense as like a silly.
I mean, Helldivers literally is Starship Troopers, the video game. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm over crossovers. Like, I look the other way when Fortnite does them because they do them well. 2, it's usually just skins, and like if they do a mode, with the exception of like the very first time they did one, which I think was John Wick, like almost all the other limited time modes or like mythics they put in have been really well done. So I'm fine with that. I'm not cool with whatever the fuck Bungie is doing here. But whatever. Like, again, this is what happens when you miss your projections by 45% and your parent company tells you need to make money. This does make me really worried about how Marathon is going to be right out of the gate, though. In terms of monetization practices and crossovers and things like that. I'm not a big fan of what this means. Like, this feels like so late. I saw somebody say this is late stage Bungie, and I had to agree.
Yeah, Marathon feels like the game they're gonna. I feel like Destiny's the testing ground, and Marathon's gonna be the hardcore crossover.
You know, Corey, I'm glad you said that because we got a question this week. We have a lot of really good questions, so I want to like make some of these into actual topics. Illustrated Dio wrote in a lot of questions this week, but the one I really wanted to highlight from them was, what would your views be on a Bungie version of the Resident Evil franchise redemption arc that saved Capcom from drowning itself. What can Bungie do to improve their main franchise and save their company?
Okay, this is going to sound very controversial for a game as a service, okay? Refocus your team, make a really strong single player campaign that would, this would come after the final shape, I would assume.
Yeah.
To get people excited, get new people excited, get old school people excited, just refocus on the campaign, give us a good story to follow, and maybe make the raid the end of the story like they did in the Taken King, or have some strong strikes, like refocus the base of the game again,
which is what I feel we say every other expansion.
Yeah, I do too, but I just really feel like they take half steps every other expansion and be like, okay, this campaign's great, and then the next one's just like, and we all kind of like, oh, is this the end of Destiny? And then the next one's good. And
I will say I think a lot of that is like content creators too, because like the game still has consistently great numbers.
Yeah, and when I say we, I mean the royal we, like the loud, obnoxious internet, right? And I don't know. I feel like they need to just refocus on the base of what makes the game great and fun, and then re-expand after that. Like build out after that.
Yeah, in regards to this question, I like that you I like that Deo specifically says, Deo, whatever, says the Capcom path, because I think it's really important to note that Resident Evil, yes, RE7 was the beginning of that, but really Monster Hunter World was one of the major things that saved that company.
Mm-hmm.
And also just like a straight up commitment to excellence. Like you look at how Capcom was putting out banger after banger for several years, and that's because they went back to basics on every single franchise, not just half measures. Like Resident Evil 6 was so bad that we pretend it didn't even happen. So RE7 kind of did what you said. Like it went back to basics. You were exploring this ever expanding house with new zones, right? And that's great. That's fine. RE8 obviously builds on that. The remake of 2 was huge. Monster Hunter World was huge. The other one I think of when we talk about all this is Devil May Cry 5. Devil May Cry 5 was, first of all, fucking awesome. But it really got back to what that franchise was about. It was the first installment in, a decade? Longer? Maybe, like I don't know, like 12, 13 years. It was the first one since Devil May Cry 4, which was... believe it or not, once upon a time, a 360 exclusive. That's how far we've come. But, getting back to the basics and, like, getting back to, like, story beats that are essential also, I think, like, not dumbing it down necessarily, but, like, reducing the scope. Like, RE6 was so huge because it was a global spanning adventure, and, like, Resident Evil 5 took place in Africa, and RE4, even though we all love RE4, took place in Eastern Europe. And you have the problem of like, okay, we're getting away from what made the franchise terrifying in the first place, which was Raccoon City. In 2 and 3 you explore Raccoon City, and even in 0 you're kind of getting there. In 1 you just explore the manor, and in 7 you're exploring the house. Like I like how they redid all that. When it comes to Destiny, I think what you have to start with is you need to start with a coherent campaign. Like you said, like there is no clear-cut way for a new player to jump into this game right now. There's nothing. There's nothing. You are left with a ton of questions. Destiny 1 may not have been perfect, but I would say that first sequence of quests on Earth, up until you get to the first quest on the moon, I think that it is actually laid out pretty decently. You get your armor, you get your first ship, you go to the tower, you talk to everybody, you meet the speaker, you get taught about what the ghosts and the traveler are, and this and that, and then, oh, we're going to send you back into the Cosmodrome to go do these quests, and oh, you're going to get a sparrow while you're there, you're going to find this, and then, oh, wait, there's another race that we're fighting. It's not just the Fallen. Oh, the Hive. Like, oh, we find out about this AI war mind that speaks in Russian gibberish, and oh, well,
Hmm.
they came from the moon, and oh, we got to go to the moon now. And it was like this organic way that the story developed. As much as we may hate vanilla D1 for so many faults, that part of it is done really, really well. The introduction of the reef is done really, really well. Like, we all meme the stranger, but that campaign is, I would say, infinitely easier to follow than certain things like trying to jump in at how New Light is, going from New Light into Shadowkeep, which is the new player experience essentially. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Suddenly we're on the moon and there's a pyramid and we're supposed to care about this? Why is this such a big deal? Like, we don't know.
Right.
Because all that content is gone. Like, not having Arrivals comes after, obviously, but like not seeing that cutscene at the end of Vanilla D2 really is like, leaves us all scratching our heads. Like, so you need a clear entryway for new players. You need a social space that actually matters, because New Tower has never been it. New Tower is so spread out, it sucks. I'm not even team bring back the old tower. I'm team make the social space smaller. Holy shit, make it smaller. It is that big and you can still only get 20 people in there? Okay. Okay, guys. Number 3, you need basic MMO infrastructure. You got to show love to clans. You got to revamp clans. Clans need to matter this time. They have to. You're an MMO. They got to matter. Why should I team up with my friends? This is why. Fire Team Finder is something that's coming like 8 years too late. It's cool, but it's like, we were using LFG websites in vanilla D1, and we continued using those well into D2 until Xbox built in LFG. And that's really where, like, a lot of us who played on
Xbox
console,
built it in.
Xbox fucking built it in, and a lot of that's because of the Destiny community, frankly. But, like, you could also use the Bungie.net matchmaking, which has always been bad, by the way. I've never had a good experience from that. It's just, we should not be having to say that you need to get back to basics in year 10 of a franchise. But we have strayed so far from it. I mean, honestly, you could make a lot of headway by just unvaulting the old content.
Yeah.
And again, don't feel like we should be having to say this. I'm even okay with you not having the Destiny 1 content in here, as much as I think that content is good. There is one campaign that I think is really worth playing. There's one that is worth playing for. There's, Vanilla is worth playing for some of the context. Dark Below worth playing for some of the context. The Taken King is a gem. But, like, beyond that, like, those raids are already in the game. Like, they're in Destiny 2. If you gave me a simple beginning of like, here's the mission where you wake up in old Russia and like, you're going to go on some quest. Like, if they just left that 5 or 6 mission arc in there up until you meet the stranger for the first time, I actually think it would be really cool. Like, you're doing something and the stranger has you go to old Russia to pick something up, and like you're doing this mission and all of a sudden partway through it just cuts out, and somebody is sending you a message, like Petra or somebody has managed to get a message through, and there's a fleet amassing around the city. You need to get back now, and like it just leads straight into that beginning of D2 at that point. Like, that would be so cool. That would be so awesome. Like, even have like a time skip built in, so like, there's reasonings why you and Ghost would be this close that quickly, and this and that. Like, there's so much you can do there, and it's an MMO. Like, other MMOs don't have this problem. Destiny is the one that keeps having this problem. And I understand you're partially limited by a console, but even that excuse is over with. I can still play every single campaign that has ever been put into Elder Scrolls Online. I can play every single piece of seasonal content that has ever been put into Elder Scrolls Online. I'm not missing a single story beat. Why is it that we can't do it in a game that is infinitely smaller in scale, size, and scope? It's just it's unacceptable at this point. Like, that's where it all starts, is like, if you want them to have a Capcom style redemption with Destiny, it has to start with a new player experience. And then, I mean, honestly, like, veteran players probably have to suck it up a little bit more. Like, I think veteran players have just, like, we're looking for any reason to complain at this point. And listen, I love Destiny. I love the franchise. I do think its best days are probably behind it. That doesn't mean I'm not going to play the final shape, but it does mean like it's a lot easier for me to become disengaged. What caters to me is the story, and just like I don't think that the story beats have really been there for the last year. Like I think it's been pretty rough going. You know, a couple moments here and there in like Wish, which was awesome. We had the witness cutscene in Deep, but like a lot of it just like doesn't do it for me. Why are we not you're so desperate for content in this game? You could just be unvaulting stuff. And I know you have to have teams working on that, but like hire an outside studio to unvault it at this point, you know? Hire an outside studio to come in and do it. And yeah, it would take some time and Sony would have to cough up some money for it, but you would get players coming back. You would get players back in droves if you just unvaulted the content and updated some of it. Like, I think it's cool that we're getting, you know, updated prophecy weapons and last wish weapons, things like that. Like, that's cool. Like, that's really cool. And we're gonna get to the Schwab in a little bit. One of the things they're doing with some of these new weapons that are dropping with the mid-season update, I think is a really cool thing and will help give the game some longevity. But it's taken us 2 years to get to that point, and that's just kind of unacceptable. These are things we floated in that first season with weapon crafting that we're just now getting to. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm complaining about everything. I do think there's some positives going on right now, but just like if you want a Capcom style redemption arc, you got a ways to go. All right, Corey, let's move into the big topic tonight. We got a big topic.
Yeah, let's do it.
We got a teaser image that dropped for Into the Light today as part of the Schwab. First impressions upon looking at this is one of the coolest pieces of art we've seen in a very long time. This is in the style of the menu art that we get for the seasons and for Fireteam Finder and things like that. This looks fucking dope as a concept. Okay, I can't believe this. They told us nothing about it. They gave us this image and said, we're going to do 3 streams starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time on March 19th, the 26th, and April 2nd. So they're going to do they're going to do 3 streams inexplicably for Into the Light that are going to happen on the 19th of March, the 26th, and April the 2nd. And we don't know how long these are. We don't know what the contents of them are. I think it's pretty safe to assume that it's probably going to be not just Into the Light content, because I cannot imagine you're going to fill like 3 hours of content with that. But it's probably going to be, hey, here's our new game director. Here's a send off to Joe Blackburn. Maybe here's the Vidoc for the final shape. Here's a new trailer for the final shape. You know, maybe on that one on the 2nd. I think we all kind of felt that the 2nd or the 9th was probably when we were going to get Into the Light dropping. I personally had the 2nd down. So that would peg for me. We do know they said they were going to show the final shape off again in April. Maybe that means the morning of the 9th when those servers go down for this update to go out. Maybe they do, a Bungie showcase. But I can't imagine like what you have to show there that requires 3 live streams. It feels very weird. Like even for like major expansions, we get like the reveal and then we get a Vidoc when it gets closer, and that's it. We don't get anything else. We get a bunch of stuff told to us in the Schwab or like in little like minute-long trailers.
Mm-hmm.
So to say I'm nervous is a bit of an understatement, because also I've seen there's been a lot of Bungie folk on social media today being like, I'm so ready to show you what we've been working on. I'm so excited. Like people from the Marathon team being like, oh my God, I'm so excited for you guys to finally show this off. Like, I really can't believe the scale of what you guys have done here. And like the thing I will keep urging people to remember, keep your expectations extremely low for this and you will not be disappointed.
Yeah.
And then they go and drop this image on us. And let me tell you something. This image, Corey, has like 15 different things to point out.
Yeah.
The first thing I want to call attention to is the tower prominently in the background. Looks very much like the OG tower. There are a bunch of towers around the wall of the city. But this one, I feel like we should call it out. I do feel like this is the OG tower. Worth also calling out because if you remember, the collector's edition of the final shape is a model of the original tower.
Right.
So that does make me think this is the OG tower. Number two, I want to call it the armor these guardians are wearing. This is a very much it reminds me of that first year or two of Solstice where we would repair the original D2 Red War armor. This kind of looks like the next evolution of that. I think in particular, the Warlock robes look really, really cool. I like how simplistic they are. I like how minimalistic all of the armor that we can see is, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I actually really like the Titan set too.
I think so. It's funny. I think the Titan and the Hunter sets, and I mean to an extent, even the Warlock sets, not just remind me of that vanilla armor you get in the Homecoming mission, but it also reminds me of like Sparrow Racing League tracksuits in a way.
Yeah,
because it's so like minimalistic. There's not a lot of like stuff hanging off and whatnot. The next thing to call out is this is happening in the city.
Yeah.
This is happening in the city.
I mean, that looks like what, Midtown? That's what that map's called.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's like obviously like not exactly Midtown.
No, but I'm saying it looks like Midtown.
I think like the hordes of the Hive, and this has been a popular theory all day, is Xivu Arath attacking the city.
Yeah.
So I want to start there. I want to start there with you. Do we think this is Xivu Arath? There's a ton of pyramids in the sky above. There's, some pyramid like cryptoliths that are there that are dropping off. Enemies. It looks like a tomb ship is maybe off to the left above those buildings. And it's all Hive enemies. There's no Taken. There's nothing else. It's all Hive.
I mean, I think Xivu Arath makes the most sense. They wouldn't introduce somebody new this late into the thing.
Well, and that's why, like, I feel like we're in a rock and a hard place because this, like, and I want to go to this real quick. Our friend A1 Johnny floated this to me earlier today. He says, "What if part of what we're getting here is what Goliath was originally supposed to be? Because we keep going back to that roadmap from GDC 2 years ago." And that was pegged to be shortly after the final shape. I personally think Goliath still exists. I think that's the 10th anniversary update that's coming personally. And if we're still going by that timeline, that would still make sense because that would be 3 months after the launch of the final shape. What if they were able to move elements of it up though? We talked last week about how it's been data mined by JP Deathblade, who does the Eververse calendar on Twitter, that Hammerhead and Recluse ornaments are returning to the Eververse shop. Our wildest dream was that Into the Light would be unvaulting content, specifically the old campaigns. What is, because we got asked this like by four different people. What do we think this is? What do we think what do we think Into the Light actually is based off of this teaser image and just off that little like nugget of leaked information we have and like our own hopes and dreams? Like, I want to hear what you think, Corey, because I mean, obviously I'm going to give a whole thesis on mine.
Yeah, I actually have a pretty quick thought.
Hit me.
I think it's going to involve the old story. I think it's going to be some sort of super condensed, maybe somebody's altering our memories, and maybe that's why the Pale Heart looks like it does right when we go in. But I think it's going to be some sort of dream-like world or alternate universe type thing where we are actually replaying through our memories of these things, and maybe it's a time jump and we're playing through these things. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But I think it's going to be some sort of retelling of the story that we've played through. Not exactly the campaigns, but like maybe like some sort of campaign that new lights can come in and play and understand what's going on in the final shape, but won't necessarily take 40 hours to beat and 9 campaigns and stuff like that, kind of like what they did with the timeline stuff earlier, but instead of just 4 missions, it'll be like 15, and maybe it'll be narrated by Zavala or Ikora. I think Zavala would be cool just to get people used to Keith David as Zavala.
Yeah, I have to think that that's going to be part of it.
You know, maybe Zavala and Ikora kind of walk you through it. Maybe if you do stuff that involves, you know, Aldrin and Crow, maybe Mara jumps in and narrates some of it. Maybe that's how they introduce, you know, these characters to the new light or the new players. I don't know. I think that would be a pretty interesting and unique way without having to figure out how to port all of the campaigns over.
Yeah, we've talked about this before of like maybe a greatest hits of some of these campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I mean, we just talked about new player experience. I think it would be really cool. Like, I don't think we're going to get anything from Destiny 1. I just think that would be entirely recreating those missions, and I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I bet there's some sort of like intro type sequence to this that kind of recaps Destiny 1, almost like when you logged into Destiny 2 for the first time and it like recapped your moments of triumph from.
Still love that you can view that at any time.
Yeah.
I think you're kind of on the nose with that. I think that going back through past experiences is something that's going to be in there. They're advertising this as a big free update, so to me that indicates this is something that's not going to go away with the launch of the final shape.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they phrased it was this is to get both old and new players ready for the final shape, so that no matter if you're new or you've played thousands of hours, you are ready to jump in. That to me screams story retrospective.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it goes a little bit deeper than that. I think they know it has to go deeper than that. I wonder if the thing that we're seeing teased in this, because to me this image is teasing a horde mode. And I'm not saying that I think, oh, it's just Evo or Wrath. Like, I think that would be really silly for it to just be the Hive. Like, we're all so fucking tired of fighting Hive. I think having a combination of Hive, Taken, Scorn, it makes sense. I mean, I know everything is kind of like an arena mode these days, but like, make this like Prison of Elders 2.0 in a way.
Yeah, I could see that.
Would be a really tasteful way, I think, to like load up some of the old weapons from the loot pool. Like, for example, Black Armory weapons without us having to go through forges again, but be like, oh, Ada 1 is unvaulting her wares. The Guardians need the absolute best. She's realized there's so many Guardians that have come in since she last outfitted us, and she's tired of the fashion game. She's working with Banshee to provide us with the latest in weaponry from ages past.
It would be cool too, just to jump off of that and kind of merge it with my idea is like, Bungie is really great at reusing assets, and maybe like, okay, if you play through these like campaign style things, right, and they're kind of recreating certain parts to make this experience available for new lights and old players to get ready, right? Maybe whatever this horde-esque mode is, like you build arenas based off the old campaigns and the old seasons and bring those weapons into these types of things.
I'm not opposed to it. I don't want to like rain on your parade right away. I just think that like even making a bunch of different arenas takes a lot of work and a lot of assets. Like, even if you're reusing the assets, like that just takes a ton of time. As far as we know, they didn't start working on this until like October, November, which is why I'm hesitant to be like, oh yeah, it's Evo Wrath. Like, maybe she has sent her legions, but I don't think we see her herself. That is episodic content to me for
maybe you use arenas that already exist in, like maybe like Fogoth's chamber, or
I can agree with. So I can definitely I can get with that. I can definitely get with that.
Yeah.
Someone pointed out this kind of looks like the Batsa district, which is from Scourge of the Past.
Mm-hmm.
The Elixni Quarter would be a really great arena that's already built. Hint, hint. We've already seen that reused once for the season of the Splicer.
Yeah.
The thing I want to point out in this image is at least 2 of those weapons are very easily identifiable.
Mm-hmm.
That hand cannon is Midnight Coup from the Leviathan raid, and the pulse rifle that we're assuming it's a pulse. The pulse that folks have zoomed in on is I think personally it looks a little bit more like a shotgun, but that model looks very close to Blast Furnace, which is the Black Armory Pulse. And then you have the sword that the Titan is using, which I think we're all assuming is just it's Falling Guillotine. But it also could be the new heavy sword that is part of the Vanguard rotation now.
Yeah.
The new Vortex frame. So that's really cool. Also, these Cabal turrets are Vanguard branded. So I thought that was really cool. You can kind of see the head of a Red Jack in the bottom right-hand corner as well. I'm very curious to see what they do, what happens here. So we will be watching this next live stream with bated breath. I want to get to some of the thoughts. We had a lot of thoughts shared about Into the Light with us today and yesterday. Dio writes in, and should be noted, Dio wrote this in before we got any of the teasers today. My hopeful additions for Into the Light are Twilight Garrison, Improved Red Death, any of the return content unvaulted after I left you the Curse of Osiris, and a reintroduced combined arms to D2 with tons of new maps, of course. I am going to rain all over your parade, buddy. I don't think you're getting any of that except for some content unvaulted. Combined arms is something that's going to have to wait until the next major update. They're not going to drop that, not with 3 new maps on the way in May. I just don't think combined arms is something that's even on their radar right now. I think we're gonna have to wait a little bit on that if it ever does come back. They have a hard enough time supporting, like, getting people to play bigger maps as they are right now. I can't imagine trying to get them to play vehicle maps for longer than like 2 days out of the novelty.
Yeah.
So I'm going to rain on the parade and say do not expect exotics either from this. Because at this point, why would you put exotics in why not just save them for Final Shape and be like, hey, look at all the shit you can earn in Final Shape, right?
Yeah.
So that's my 2-cent takeaway on that particular piece of feedback.
Yeah.
We had other, god damn it, I'm having to scroll. We had things that were inside the thread and things that were not in the thread. Sammy wrote in last night, God bless you, Sammy, asking what our genuine predictions for Into the Light are. Do you think it'll just be throwback missions like the ones we already have? A refresh and return of the old campaigns is a pipe dream, I know. Or you can get something different altogether. We've already talked about that. Hydra writes in and asks, what are your thoughts on getting a whole new strike in Into the Light? I'm going to say probably slim to none, but I am going to hold out like 20% hope that we get some old strikes back.
Yeah, I was going to say if they're going to do anything, they're going to bring old strikes back.
Yeah, I could see them bringing back a few old strikes. I mean, Titan as a planet is basically unvaulted at this point. Make it permanent, add Savathun's song back in. Bring back, the stuff on the moon you would have to rebuild in D2, so it's not really that simple. I don't know. There's things you can do, like maybe some old strikes get brought back, or maybe like the final missions of a few seasonal events get made into strikes, like the Quaria mission from Splicer. Maybe that gets made into a strike finally. That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Things like that are what I would expect more along the lines of, like, I cannot emphasize this enough. I would not expect new lore. I would not expect story to come out during this. If it does, we can all be pleasantly surprised. You guys can point and laugh. I will eat as much crow as I have to over it, but I just don't think it's happening. I mean, maybe you unvault the Tangled Shore and all the Tangled Shore strikes are back. There's not a lot of things we can really do without diving into D1 at this point or unvaulting the old planets. So I do think we're getting unvaulting of some kind, and that's if you get any strike material, that's where it's coming from. Any raid material, that's where it's coming from.
Yep.
So unless they just magically add a piece of content ready to go that they can move up by like 6 months, which I highly doubt.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
I don't think it's happening either.
I mean, unless it was ready by, like, that part of the game was ready by the original release date, but I would They would just
I
polish
would
it.
I would have a multitude of questions if they
Yeah.
had content that was already ready.
Yeah.
We had one more question from Hydra, and Hydra, I'm really glad you wrote this in because I did not see this teaser image belohand. I kind of skipped over it in my ranting and raving about the Twitch streams. There is an actual piece of like legit logo art that they did for Into the Light, and you can see the tiger symbol behind the Into the Light logo. And so Hydra writes in and asks, what's the significance of the tiger in early concept art, and it's showing in the Into the Light background art? In the early stages of Destiny, that was like a prototype when they were still trying to decide what the game was going to be. Originally, Destiny was conceived as a medieval fantasy RPG.
Mm-hmm.
And there were two factions within Bungie. There was the one led by Jamie Geisimer that fought for the medieval side, and then there was Jason Jones, who is the CEO of Bungie and this and that, the brain behind Halo, Oni, everything you want to say, who was like, no, we need to make it like hardcore science fiction. You know, like Halo was such a success, we need to follow in that mold. And that's where the Tiger style came from initially. Well, that also led to the name of the engine for the game. The Tiger engine is a nod to that. The 30th anniversary helm that everyone has, if you did all of the content in the 30th anniversary, is that the Tiger helmet. Like that's a direct nod to it. I personally think that's all this is. I don't think we're magically getting a new race here out of nowhere. The most I can say is maybe they do introduce a new race and it's a single NPC who comes to the tower. And that kicks off, that kind of like helps set up what they're going to do post final ship. That is the only nugget I will say that they could dangle, the only carrot, so to speak. I think that is just a really cool piece of art. And for me, that represents the end of a 10-year journey. That's all that represents to me.
Yeah.
It kind of like started with, well, really, it's like more like 15 years for Bungie. But like that was in some of the very first concept art that we've seen, some of the absolute earliest, and it's kind of been an inside thing until the end. I don't think you're magically getting a new race in Destiny 2. It would take a full new game to get that, because it doesn't make sense if you can randomly make a Guardian as a tiger now.
Yeah.
Like after all this, oh, there's suddenly tigers walking around. Like, no, it would take us going to a new planet for that to happen.
I want to be a tiger.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me from a story perspective.
Yeah. When is that supposed to drop, by the way? Speaking of creating and remaking your Guardian. When is that supposed to drop?
I want to say it's coming before the final shape. I would peg it as coming with Into the Light.
Yeah.
So that may also be something they show in those streams.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't. We'll wait and see what this is going to be like. But oh boy.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man.
I don't know. I need to see that first stream, and all I'm going to say is these streams better impress, because I've been pretty underwhelmed with Season of the Wish so far. And I mean, that's going to happen with a 6-month season. Like I've praised the Coil activity, but I think the story has fallen short. Obviously, we're running real low on strikes here.
Yeah.
It's been rough. Getting back to the TWAB, there are 2 Twitch emblems. So this is what like makes me think each stream is probably an hour long. There is one if you watch 30 minutes across any of the 3 live streams. And then there is one if you watch at least 2 hours. That 30-minute one is pretty dope. I really like that. So those are cool. The other big news that we got out of the TWAB today, though, Corey, very excited for this.
What, the Guardians or the Hunters are winning Guardian games?
Well, I could give a shit about Guardian games. Making enhanced traits more obtainable. Over the last year, the weapons team has been collecting feedback on weapon crafting and enhancement, and we recognize players want more access to enhanced perks so they can make their favorite gear even more capable. We aren't fully ready to talk about the entire weapon landscape of the final shape. The new and reprised weapons you collect from Prophecy and from Guardian Games All-Stars, as well as the new weapons in rotation for Iron Banner, Trials, and Nightfalls, will all retroactively be enhanceable when the final shape releases. So the following weapons will have enhanced traits available starting on June the 4th. The Prophet Scout Rifle and the Summoner Auto Rifle from Trials, Tusk of the Boar Grenade Launcher and the Multi-Mock CCX SMG in Iron Banner, the Wild Style Grenade Launcher and Slammer Sword from Nightfalls, Taxapros, which is the Scout Rifle, the Title SMG, and the Hullabaloo Grenade Launcher for Guardian Games All-Stars, and the Prophecy, Prosecutor Auto Rifle, Adjunctor SMG, Relentless Pulse Rifle, Judgment Hand Cannon, Darkest Before Pulse Rifle, and Sudden Death Shotgun will all have these enhanced traits available. I'm very curious to see how this is, because this will change weapon farming as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Because now you're really going to want to get that God roll and then do whatever you have to do in order to enhance it. Again, something we've been calling for a while is more to do with the crafting table. Right now, I only go there if I absolutely have to. I love the idea that even regular drops can be enhanced. And of course, that doesn't happen until June. But I think we are all circling when Prophecy is the farmable dungeon coming up. Because let me tell you something, I will be grinding out for a God roll Darkest Before during that. We do have a question relating to rotators, though, Corey. Jiggly Panda writes in and says, Datto made a video saying the weekly rotators need to go. What are your thoughts on this? Yes, get rid of them. There's too much content in the game. We shouldn't have to wait a whole season, sometimes a season plus, to get to a featured dungeon and or raid.
Yeah.
It is inexcusable that you can only do those 1 week a season.
Yeah. They need to go. I think you need to just allow players to play the content that they want to play. And
I would say, with the exception of the brand new content, because you don't want people just like farming the shit out of the new raid in like the first 48 hours and then calling it quits. I think like having the restrictions on that is fine, but once the content's been in here for like 6 months, just let them go nuts.
Yeah. I would say like any new content for the season, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's still like 4 months now with the episodes, I guess.
But yeah, we need to see exactly how the content drops are going to work there. But yeah, I would say like, just anytime when you release a new dungeon, the other dungeon, suddenly becomes farmable. And like, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
And like to an extent it is, but just like the rotators are dumb. They're dumb. Get them out of here. I think it just like kind of makes sense with like Nightfalls still, but that's about it. There should be no more dungeon or raid rotators. Just let us play the shit we want to play.
Yep, I agree.
I think that's the easiest answer we may have ever given on this. We do have a few Guardian Games questions. Corey, have you gotten a chance to engage at Guardian Games much? Or are you just like kind of, nah, you're done?
I did a little bit, and then I was like, I don't know if I really want to do this, to be honest.
What do you think about skimmers?
I mean, they're cool.
You enjoying it? You enjoying your skimmer?
Sure. I mean, it looks cooler than it is, I think, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. It's fine. They're fine. I think they're fun to watch people use them that like are doing, all these weird things on them, but I don't really care. I think, like I said, I think when they introduce them, they definitely look cool and feel fresh, but also like at the end of the day, it feels just like another way to get around. So
I would agree with that. I do really like the skimmers though. I'm a big fan. I would like to see more tricks made available, maybe with the exotic ones. Maybe you could like set tricks up to be kind of like emotes, but I'm afraid to say that because I don't want to be charged to pay for skimmer tricks.
Yeah.
I think that could be fun. Not paying, but that could be fun.
Maybe when you buy the skimmer for $20, Josh, and Eververse, they'll give you a trick for free.
I'm so mad about that. I don't even want to talk about it. Dio writes in and says, Guardian Games is meh for me this year, as well as the steps to obtaining the rewards. However, the skimmers are awesome. Bungie, if you're going to theme an event around an All-Stars event with new vehicles for Guardian Games, bring back Sparrow Racing League at the very least. Is there room for improvement, or could this possibly be the final Guardian Games? Man, I feel like we've been predicting the death of Guardian Games for as long as this show has been going on.
Yeah.
But like kind of low key gone from like being the worst to like maybe being the second best event they have, which isn't saying a lot, but I mean, for me, it's pretty clearly Festival of the Lost and then this. Um, just give me new Lost sectors next year, please. I beg. I do agree that I think that Guardian games should feature like mini games of some kind. I think it would be really cool if there was like a temporary firing range in like the hangar or something. I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy Rebirth, so stick with me here on the mini games, guys.
You want them to introduce a card game, don't you?
I want them to introduce Queen's Blood for Destiny. Yes, I need a Destiny collectible card game in game right now. If there's not a deck builder, I ain't playing.
Is it Mara's Blood? Is that the?
Sure. As long as they don't bring Fort Condor over, we're good. I really do like mini games, though. I think there are some fun things you could do that you would like. Kind of have to do some genre bending, but so stick with me here. Well, let me take you down a path, Corey.
I'm here. I'm ready for the path.
I would love to see like little mini game style things. I think Sparrow Racing League would be cool. I think you could also now do a Skimmer Racing League. I think that would particularly be a lot of fun. I think giving us like certain having us load into like a multiplayer map or something and like see how many trick points you can get on a skimmer would be really cool. Like just you get loaded in solo. That could be a fun little event to do. A firing range I think would be just great. Do a firing range event, and if you don't want to lay it over there, they've gone to the Relic and done it. I don't know. There could be some really cool things that you do though, and you're not taking it too seriously. Like you're always loading into a Guardian Games thing, so that way that you're loading into this, and there's fun things you can do. Like we have goofy things during other events. Like we can throw snowballs during strikes and in the tower and stuff during the dawning, and we bake fucking cookies for that for a raid boss. Why can't we do goofy things during Guardian Games? Like actual goofy things. Like, oh, maybe you can go get a free silver medal once every 24 hours by going and playing the Shaxx dance mix down in Zavala's office or something. Like, give me some goofy things like that to go do during Guardian Games. And I think you can make it a lot more fun. Also, like, the best step to improving these events is give us more shit to earn. Like, oh boy, a ship and a sparrow. Like, no, give me some emotes. Give me a finisher. Give me some armor to earn. Like, there is so much you could do. Give the winning class every day 500 free bright dust. Like, that'll never happen, but what if it did? What if each day the class that wins, like, if you win, you get 500. If you come in second, you get 250. You come in third, you get 100. It's like everyone is still going home with stuff.
Right.
Like, oh, you cross a certain threshold for your Nightfall score. You got a top 10% score or a top 15% score. Here's an extra 250 bright dust you can get via special bounty. Like, give more stuff away, and the events will be seen as better, even if they aren't better. So I think there's some fun things you could do there. I don't know what else you could do. I mean, maybe you turn it on to where like there's super jumps on in every strike. Like there's fun modifiers. Like you jump 3 times higher than you normally would, or you have increased agility and whatnot because it's the games, right? Your melee is jacked up to like 300% power. Just like give us some fun stuff if you're going to do this. Like I think back to how we felt about Dares of Eternity when it came out and some of the wacky shit you could get off the wheel. And I just kind of wish that we would get that again.
I forgot about the wheel.
Yeah. You could even have Zur and Star Horse hosting it. Like this is a weird thing. Like let them host it. It doesn't have to be Grandma every time.
Yeah, what if it was Grandma on Star Horse with Zur?
That's too much sex appeal. I don't think we can handle that.
I'm just saying, Christmas Grandma's going to turn into Sex Grandma with all those tentacles.
Jesus fucking Christ!
New meaning to sit on my face. Am I right, Josh?
You are disgusting. You are absolutely disgusting. How dare you say that about Christmas Grandma? How dare you? How dare you? I mean, that's kind of about it. We had a lot of comments from a couple of people, but yeah, kind of like short, sweet, and to the point tonight. There's not a lot because we're kind of waiting for that first stream to drop now on Tuesday. And we should be getting more details. I mean, we're about 2.5 months out from the big day, Corey.
Yep, very.
We are less than 10 episodes away. Not only from that, but we're coming up on episode 200.
I know, this is 189. We've got 11 weeks.
Oh my God!
Is that the launch of the final shape? Is that going to be the launch?
I'm gonna do the math real fast.
Oh, it's going to be close. Oh, it's going to be close.
3, 4, 5, 6.
If it's not, we should skip a week.
7, 8, 9, 10. As of right now, it will be the final episode leading into the final shape, which I think is actually kind of perfect.
Man, that's so nuts.
I think that's kind of perfect. That is really fitting in a lot of ways. That the episode leading into the final shape will be episode 200. As it stands now, May 30th / June 1st is going to be May 30th / 31st is going to be episode 200 of this podcast.
Man,
that is just
who'd have thought?
Batshit. That is batshit crazy. I wanted to give a shout out. We're getting towards the end. We still have another question to get to, but it's not Destiny related, so we'll save it for the end. I want to give a shout out. We had a raid or a dungeon crawl recently in the Discord. We had a few teams compete, and the team of I want to make sure I get this correct here. Let me pull up the message from Nerd because I know whose team it was. I just want to make sure that we got everything correct. Oh shit! He did not send it to me. Okay, pause for just a second, everybody. Not actually pause, Corey. I am now fervently looking to see who it was. Oh, I remember now. Our team that we had that won, that came in first, was led by the Dealer, Oak, and Weird Soup. Some of the completion times they had were absolutely bonkers on this. It is just absolutely disgusting.
Disgusting.
It is absolutely 100% disgusting. I could not believe that some of these were that intense. Like they were getting 20-minute completions on some of these.
That's ridiculous, man. That's talk about min-maxing your builds and your team, right? I mean,
well, it's not even min-maxing the builds, but like staying within the parameters that we had set.
Yeah.
Because we were pretty picky about what the loadouts were going to be.
Yeah.
So
still, that's impressive. It's impressive.
It was great. It was absolutely great. I was very, very happy seeing that we had the completions. So the fastest completion for them, all of the every dungeon combined, 191 minutes and 15 seconds.
Jeez.
The longest for every single team was obviously Ghosts of the Deep.
Yeah.
Because of that one you have to go to. Second place ended up being Joasis, A1 Johnny, and Fox with a team time of 245 minutes and 55 seconds. And third place was Nadiki, Nox, and Rex at 261 minutes and 3 seconds. Some fun facts that Nerd shared with us. Ghost was the longest dungeon for everyone, taking 44, 51, and 56 minutes respectfully. There was a very narrow gap between all these teams through the first 3 dungeons. No penalties were incurred, which means everybody stayed within the loadout restrictions that we had. Most dungeons were completed by all teams in 20 to 30 minutes, which is also really cool. And then we handed out some server titles to everybody as well. The Dungeon Master title. So I'm a very big fan of Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeon Master was, of course, the most fitting one.
Mm-hmm.
So Very, very, very happy about that. I keep meaning to announce those results. We've had them for 2 weeks now, and I have just been forgetting the last couple of weeks to mention those.
It's been a busy couple weeks, Josh.
It's been
Let's
a
be
busy
honest.
couple of weeks. Of course, Corey does a million other shows, and I have other endeavors that I'm currently dealing with. Away from the show, obviously,
Yeah.
as well as trying to tackle a second massively long Japanese role playing game.
Yeah.
Before I go into a third one at the end of the month with Dragon's Dogma 2. Our final question of the night, our final topic of the night, final question, whatever you want to call it, comes to us from Fox. I wanted to make sure. Excuse me. We have two.
Oh.
I'm dumb. I almost left out Tiger Jesus' question.
Fine.
Tiger Jesus writes in and says, "What are some things you want to see and don't want to see in the Final Shapes raid?" I want a Sparrow race.
Yeah, I really feel
I want it to be the final thing. I want to kill the witness and then have to race out of his ship.
I know this would kind of defeat the purpose of a quote unquote new raid, but I was thinking that it would be cool if, like, since the Pale Heart is some sort of warped version of our journey, like, what if the raid was some sort of warped version of like a mishmash of all of the raids? Like, and not necessarily like you take, like, I don't know, the first encounter is the War Priest, and then the second encounter is the jumping puzzle from fucking Vault of Glass, and you know what I mean? Like, I think it, like, give those encounters, like, make them remind you of those encounters, but make them feel fresh in a sense.
So I'm kind of the same mindset. I kind of would like the in-between parts between the encounters to be like, oh, you're kind of like walking through like the corridors of time in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you're going through this section and it kind of looks like it's, but I actually would welcome, like, oh, it's a jumping puzzle in the style of something you would find on the Dreadnought. Or, oh, here's like, I don't know, like a relay section similar to Root of Nightmares or Vow of the Disciple. Like, I think like returning the symbol wall would be kind of interesting for that. I think there's ways you can do it without it being like too campy. I would actually love the fight against the Witness to like take place in different arenas throughout our history.
Mm-hmm.
That like, oh, like as you get like certain damage thresholds and like it stops you at a certain threshold. No, you're teleported to a different arena. Like, oh, one's in Vault of Glass, one is in one's on Europa outside the Deepstone Crypt. I'm trying to think of like open arenas. I don't know, maybe I don't know, but you see what I'm getting.
Yeah,
at.
I understand.
You guys get the idea. I think that would be something that would be really cool, like kind of like flickering through time in a way, or like maybe we're like jumping through time throughout the raid.
Yeah, especially because, like, I mean, that would tie it into so many things. That would tie it into Vault. That would tie it into Elsie's kind of.
Yeah, I mean, God, Elsie is going to be so important in this.
Yeah, like that would tie it into so much, and actually, like, really loop it back around to. I like that idea, Josh. I like it.
Things I do not want to see. I do not want to see old encounters.
Yeah.
I do not want this to be like a greatest hits of encounters. I think that would be incredibly lazy. The in-between sections, I'm totally cool with, like having homages to other raids, or like maybe you like go through and like, oh, the Witness has like a trophy case here, and like, oh, that's Atheon's corpse. That's Oryx's corpse. Like, oh shit. Like, he's got like a trophy haul of everyone that we've killed, and like maybe, like you hear him talking to you. Sorry, my eyes are so itchy tonight. Maybe he's like tempting you to like turn on the light one final time and like join him or something, you join him, be a disciple, this and that. And then maybe that like leads into like a boss battle against like a mini Rolk or something. Like that could be really cool.
Yeah.
But I don't want to fight old raid bosses either.
Yeah, I don't either.
like we already know there's going to be a new type of enemy that like kind of look and fight like Rolk did, just like
Mhm.
tormentors are modeled after Nezarec. That's about as close as I want to get. I don't want to fight Crota. I don't want to fight Atheon. Like we did that shit, or the Gate Lord, whatever it was. We did that shit in Dares of Eternity. Save that stuff for Dares.
Yeah.
Save that
Or
for
like
Dares. I don't need to fight a resurrected Gaul.
I do think some sort of like
Taniks encounter. I agree.
some sort of boss rush mode, or like a like, I guess Prison of Elders would probably be the closest thing to this, where
Yeah.
like you could fight old bosses if you really wanted to. I think that would be a neat type of 6-person event that you could go do. I mean, and maybe it's a little easier. I don't know. Maybe there's like multiple difficulty levels, but yeah, I agree with you. In the raid itself, I don't want old encounters. I do want things that remind me of our journey. Uh, but I think those are definitely two different things.
For sure. For sure. Our final question of the night comes to us. I'm going to make sure. I'm going to make fucking sure this time. I'm absolutely scrolling through and making sure this is it. This is all that I see. There was some really good discussion though about Into the Light in the general section today in our Discord. So I'd really encourage you to go see some of the discussion that was happening. It was not me just dumping on everybody's ideas, but there was a lot of speculation from Sammy, from Nadiki, and from a few others. So I would definitely recommend, taking a look at that. Dealer's got himself on a list right now because he decided to say that it was going to be a version of Taniks we haven't seen, and becomes one of the Witness's disciples and is the final boss.
Yes, can't
get
wait.
out of here. Yeah, absolutely get out of here.
What if the Witness is a smokehead just was what do you call it, extinguished, and it's just Taniks underneath?
I would be so mad. I would turn it off and never look back. Our final question comes to us from Fox. What are some songs you currently have on repeat?
Oh God, this is the wrong question for me.
Corey, you're not a music guy, are you?
I am not. I can't. And I know this is blasphemy to people, and people often don't believe me, but I really don't listen to music. Like I really don't.
This is not hard for me to believe because I've known you for so long.
Yeah.
But this is hard for me to personally hear.
Yeah. That's fair.
So lucky for you, I did enough work for both of us on this one.
Great.
I have a playlist of 35 songs that I will post in the Discord tomorrow morning that I am currently listening to. It's a little bit of everything, as I call it. I like to listen to a really wide range of music, though. I would say I listen to like probably like mostly alternative, and like I have a really soft spot for 2000s punk pop, 90s ska, and 90s punk. I have really soft spots for like all of that. Like basically, if it was music that came out between like 92 and like 2012, I probably have a really soft spot for it.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the artists I'm really enjoying right now, I am listening to some indie artists: George Ezra, Patrick Park, Gaslight Anthem. Of course, I've got one of my all-time favorite bands on here, The Killers. My two absolute favorite songs by them, All These Things That I've Done and Read My Mind. Two of the best songs ever written, in my opinion. I'm listening to The Subways. I've got Bruce Springsteen on here. I've got The Who on here. Phoebe Bridgers. Really, really liking Phoebe Bridgers right now. Her songs, I Know the End and Kyoto, are pretty high up on my playlist. Jason Isbell is on there. The Decemberists, they've been around. Sufjan Stevens, they've been around for decades at this point. I promised y'all 90s ska, so I've got Less Than Jake. I've got the Mighty Mighty Boss Stones. Of course, I like Blink 182. I got some Flog and Molly on here. Shout out to John, A1 Johnny. Cobra Man is on here. I've got Cobra Man on here, one of the bands that John has introduced me to over the course of our friendship. I've got Passion Pit, First Aid Kit. Of course, you know, we get into my 70s music. I've got The Who, I've got Belle and Sebastian.
I haven't heard of like 2/3 of these people that
I
you're
know you
naming.
haven't. It's beautiful. And then you know, you got to round it out with I had to get a video game song in there, so I've got a song from Persona 5 on there, and
Shocker.
I've got a I've got one of the ending themes from season 6 of My Hero as a song on here. But it's a pretty all encompassing list of music that I like. I'll go ahead and post that. It's gonna be like 35, 40 songs long that I'll post in Discord. I'll make it open. Anybody can listen to. Anybody that wants to can listen to it. And check it out. You guys can judge me for my musical tastes, and I'll try not to be super offended. I know that I listen to a lot of really weird shit, and I'm one of those guys that, like, when I find something I like it, and it probably stays on my playlist forever. Case in point, like a third of these songs I think were on my playlist when I was 16, and they're still on there now at 31. So
no matter what people think of your music, they're gonna come at me hard because I don't listen to music, Josh.
Because Corey does not listen to music. He doesn't listen to music. He doesn't watch movies.
I don't. Man, yeah, you're right.
All right, Corey, let's get out of here.
All right, Josh. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to this episode of Tower Casuals. We are 11 episodes away from 200. Josh,
11 episodes away from me being 32.
Ooh.
My birthday is the day that the final shape releases.
Ooh.
So I will be grinding it out, and the day after my 32nd birthday, I will be doing a review of the final shape. I will maybe finally celebrate my birthday, like maybe by mid-June. I don't know. That might be the first chance I have.
Well, Josh, if it makes you feel better, it's been about 15 years since I celebrated my birthday.
I don't do birthdays, so it's all good.
Where can we find you, Josh?
I'm still holding it down on Twitter, at Josh_Finn.
You can find me at I am Corey in HD on social media places. Yeah, join the Discord, join the fun.
Lots of great discussions happening in the Discord right now, by the way.
What are your theories for Into the Light? We want to know. Drop in the Discord.
I thought you were asking me for a second, and I was like, Corey, we just had a very long
I'm telling our audience to join the Discord and let us know. No, I'm not that tuned out, Josh. Anyways, I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to Tower Casuals. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye.